11 reasons why most black women are fed up with black male bashing. It's all over YouTube. I'm sure it's all over other social media like Twitter and other accounts that people have. Some people will make ghost accounts. They're not even of the black community, and they will put out really hateful videos towards black men and black females. So I just wanted to put this video out too because recently Ice-T, he's a rapper back in the 80s. He somehow he had mentioned some things that he had 10 reasons why he would rather date a white female over a black female. And there are a lot of tension in the black community. It is not just we've heard black on black crime, we've heard about violence in certain low income or impoverished communities, urban communities, but there's a rift between black males and black females, and that just makes it worse when celebrities put out negative messages, which are really a lot of that. There's more to it. Some black males have bad attitudes. They get online and they'll post some of the nastiest comments, or they'll post some of the nastiest videos because really they've had like maybe a bad experience in a few relationships, or maybe they have the problem within themselves, so they don't know how to address it, or the woman got fed up and she got tired and let him alone, or he left a woman with children and he has a bad attitude, so he gets online and he spews all his hate towards any woman, and women of color in particular, because he hates himself. A lot of this comes from people wanting to be the Mac Daddy, the player, the pimp, the hustler. That generation was like in the 70s and in the 80s and part of the 90s. So if you see this picture of Ice-T and his wife, just look at how she looks. I mean, it looks really slutty. They glorify gangs. Some black men, they owe child support, and they leave the black woman to raise the children alone. So they blame her for them having to pay child support. But what they don't tell you is they, like to sleep around with different women. And so I'm going to mention this more than once. Sometimes there are certain guys, depending on their environment, they become a product of their environment. They become drug dealers, gangsters, hustlers, players. Maybe they're not in a gang, but Ice-T is inspired by old thugs, pimps. So if you see some of the photos of him, there was a movie called American Pimp. He starred in that movie. He said that he regularly attends the Players Ball, and it's not just him. There are other artists, there are other people who, like in the 70s, there were like guys who, particularly in the black community, they were pimps. And so this guy, I believe his name is Iceberg Slim. So you see Ice-T holding a picture of Iceberg Slim. He has several books out. He's not the only one. There are other pimps back in the days. They talk about their war stories, about how they, had a lot of women and they prostituted them, how they made a lot of money. And in the black culture, pimp, that whole theme is like a big deal. It's glorified. Infidelity is a big issue in the black community. A lot of times black men will get mad at you. They think that, women are the property. And some of that comes from that whole pimp culture. They have this term, don't hate the player, hate the game, or don't player hate, all those player haters. So they kind of have this persona like, it's okay to have a lot of women and not to be, married, and good men who value marriage or value monogamy or want to be with just one individual and want to be good fathers tend to be ostracized, or they're called simps, or they're called names because they're not like a gigolo type and have a bunch of women. And a lot of times there's a problem where black males, they hate themselves. So because of the history of not being able to be around around white women, and if you look way back in history, the hate itself it runs deep. These men will get online and they will spew hate towards other black people, other black males, other black women, the whole black culture. We have like a whole row of people on these social media websites who just spew hateful rants towards the black community in terms of belittling them, blaming them for everything. But it's sad because these guys are black themselves, and sometimes they're celebrities, sometimes they're famous. They'll make quotes, and once you say those things, it stays out there in the media. And a lot of that is self-hate. You know, they sometimes it's the darker men. It's like a complex. Some black men, they marry women who are white, not for love, but because they hate themselves. So they all this hustler and player, and you've seen it in movies. It's been in music. There are rap artists that have like music, and there's this gangster mentality, this player mentality, this pimp mentality, and I'm not trying to just say these things that just like completely dispel all of it to say, oh, it's all their fault. A lot of times these guys, they figure, okay, they have a talent, so they put their talent out there, but what they're saying in their lyrics is really destroying the black community and the way people personify people in the black community, how they view black women in particular and black males. They want to put down black females in these songs, but then what does it say about them putting down women? Here they got sisters, cousins, mothers. They come from a black female, and they call women the B word. They call women the HOE word, but it's spelled WHO. You know, RE. It's like it's just sad because we have like a lot of hate, a lot of pain, a lot of injustice done to black people as a whole. And so you have these real talent, they're talented artists, but they're glorifying pimps, they're glorifying hustlers, they're glorifying, criminal activity. And some of that is because they come from neighborhoods or they're a product of their environment, and they put it in the music. And it initially started out where rappers wanted people to know what kind of things that they had seen when they were growing up in these neighborhoods, or what households they lived in, or friends they knew, or people they looked up to, because they didn't have positive role models. So a lot of it is from men who come from like bad home life experiences, bad neighborhoods. They had bad training while growing up. Maybe they had uncles, cousins, brothers that were in gangs involved in criminal activity. They lived in neighborhoods of poverty. And these are also women, movies that personify gangsters and pimps and hustlers. Quick cash, quick coming up, exploit black women, exploit women. Doesn't matter if they're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, just exploit women. There's a lot of racism involved in all of this as well. Marginalizing black people, putting them in neighborhoods where they can't live in the white neighborhoods because whites don't want you living around them. Racist whites, I'm referring to. So, you see all of this personified. I say pimps are like clowns. When you look at it, they look like clowns. But, some pimps, they're celebrity pimps. They think that, oh, nobody can touch me. But a lot of times these guys, they wind up in the industrial complex, prison complex. And that's what we have a big problem with, a lot of males in prison for, like sometimes petty crime, and there's some men who didn't do anything wrong. They just fit that persona, or either they just happen to be black or they happen to be Hispanic, or they happen to be around at the wrong place at the wrong time. We also have a big, huge problem with domestic abuse. And it's in marriages. That woman feels trapped in that relationship. She can't get out. She loves her man, she loves who she's with, but she feels trapped in that relationship and she's afraid to get out of that relationship. That's why she can't get out of the relationship. Some people say, well, how come she can't just leave him? It's not that easy, because if you're dealing with somebody that is extremely angry, they threaten you, they threaten to kill your mother, your family, they threaten to kill the kids. There's all that going on. Now, it's just sad, but this is what is going on in the black community. It's also going on outside of the black community. So I know it's not just within our community alone, but I'm focusing on black people as a whole unit. We also have issues with body shaming. Sometimes the abuse, if it's not physical, it can be emotional, where they talk about, oh, black women are fat, they don't look good, they don't get their hair wet, and they won't exercise, and they eat everything, and they don't know how to cook, or and all these nasty things. They're over controlling men, that they want you to be a personal slave. It's like patriarchy gone wrong. And if you don't do what they say, this is what you get. You're going to get your eyes beat. You can get broken limbs, broken leg. You can get raped by your husband, your boyfriend. The kids can get beat up. Your daughters could get molested. And the mother, she just sit in that situation. She won't say anything. The kids go to school and they have to watch their mother being abused, attacked. Criminal activity. Some women will put up with a guy, he comes from out of prison, and he tells her all this stuff about how he's going to straighten his life out. Some may do that, but that is not everybody. Not all black males are influenced by bad individuals. Some black males want a role model, male role models to look up to, but if the role model is involved in hustling, pimping, exploiting females for money, or he drops out of school or goes into a life of crime, this is what you end up with. And then we have men who are on the down low. They are insecure about their sexuality. They can't be honest about who they are, and they have a lot of sexual partners. They don't tell you about their sexual history. And I'm not trying to bash gay males, because I've met some cool gay people. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the lies. Be honest. I actually like it when people are honest about their sexuality and they say who they are. Those people are not the problem. It's people who lie and don't tell the truth, and then they try to pretend like they're straight, and they get in a straight relationship and you get hurt. But if a woman is independent, they can't stand it. So let's change our attitudes.